Hey there, SEC sports fans. It's Ben and Darren, the Brew and Shavers SEC Sports Podcast, coming back to you with a brand new episode as we continue to move through this college football season. Darren, as a Vanderbilt fan, I imagine you're feeling a little bit better this week than you were last week.
I may have had a pretty good weekend. Just maybe a little bit of a scary overtime kind of good weekend, but still a good weekend. I'll take it for sure. Definitely better than last week for sure.
Do you have the Apple Watch or anything that measures your heart rate or signs of atrial fibrillation or?
I'm glad I don't have the Apple Watch because I probably would have had to, been an emergency room visit at some point. Fitbit doesn't go that far, so thankfully.
My friend, you should be celebrating after a huge win for Vanderbilt. We LSU fans, we're still trying to make sense of the cosmos and how things work in this world, and
Absolutely.
whether God is an LSU fan or not. And these are deep questions that are really perplexing us at this moment.
That's exactly right.
So let's look back on this past weekend and start with our takeaway, our Week 11 reactions. Darren, what stuck out to you the most from this past weekend?
Well, I think there's really only one thing that I can say had my undivided attention this weekend, that it still is my biggest reaction, and that is Diego Pavia. I know that there have been times that when you see his performance, you sit back and you go, okay, and people fairly, I'm not even saying that, you haters, not even, people have fairly said, is there some hype to this when you look at some of the performances he's had in big games? However, I think he did everything he can do to eliminate that part of the conversation this weekend. 25 of 33 for 377 yards for 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 18 carries for 112 yards. As a quarterback, he averaged 6.2 yards a carry as a quarterback, a total of 4 TDs. He was within, let me do my math real quick. He was within 11 yards of having 500 yards of total offense. 11 yards of having 500 yards of total offense, no interceptions. You just can't, put that, it doesn't matter who it is, you can't put that kind of game truly into words. That is a generational type game. I mean, there has not been a game like that at Vanderbilt by any quarterback. We had some good days with some Jay Cutlers, and there were some good days, but nothing like that. And I mean, I don't think anyone would be shocked if we never saw another game like that from a quarterback. Basically, 500 yards of offense, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, no fumbles, average 6 yards a carry, averaged well over 10 yards, almost 15 yards per completion. Just and that 25 of 33, like 76% completion. Pro Football Focus had him graded out this week as obviously the highest graded quarterback in the SEC with a grade of over a 90. They don't do that a whole lot. They gave him an A basically for his game. And weird little side note, or just fun little side note, after this performance this week, he is now in the top 10 of rushing leaders in the SEC as a quarterback. So a lot of times when you see that a quarterback is a leading rusher, that makes you a little nervous. At least it always has me. But when he's a leading rusher on the level that he's in the top 10 of the conference in rushing, I think that makes it a little bit more palatable and a little bit more impressive of what he's doing.
What makes it even more impressive, Darren, is he did it against an elite defense.
Exactly.
Auburn is not a horrible defense at the bottom of statistical ratings. It's up there. You're talking about a well-crafted, well-put-together DJ Durkin defense that came into this game thinking, hey, we've got a huge coaching change here. Let's do something. And basically, what we learned again, and we've known this already, Darren,
Yep.
is that as Diego Pavia goes, so goes Vanderbilt. And he took the team on his back and
Absolutely.
willed them to victory. Those are incredible numbers, even more so when you consider the defense that
Exactly.
he got those numbers against.
And honestly, the first half was not impressive. The first half was hard to watch. I was Side note for those that believe in sports superstition, I was so frustrated at the end of the first half that I changed my hat and my shirt. So obviously, the hat and shirt that I was wearing in the second half is the hat and shirt I will wear for the remainder of the season during every game, because there's got to be something to that, right? I mean, I changed it at halftime. I have witnesses. I was made fun of by my entire house because I changed hat and shirt at halftime. So I have witnesses, but hey, there's got to be something to it. I will wear that hat and shirt the rest of the season.
There's no way to prove that it didn't work or it
Right?
did work. So
That's exactly right.
go with it.
That's what I'm thinking. But an amazing second half, incredible what Diego Pavia did. Like you said, just put the team on his back, and what an incredible game. How about you,
Yeah.
Ben? What's your reaction for this week?
Missouri's in trouble.
Oof.
The quarterback situation is in dire straits
Yeah.
in Missouri. There, no knock to the guy they have in there. He's a true freshman, Matt Zollers.
Mhm.
But against now A&M is an elite defense, but
Absolutely.
these numbers 7 of 22 for 77 yards,
Oof.
a 31.8
Yeah.
completion percentage, a QBR of 17.4. That's rough. And uh, I'm sure he'll get better. They'll bring him along, but there's not. You don't get a learning curve
Yeah.
in the middle of an SEC season. So I think Missouri is really in trouble with the current quarterback situation. It is what it is. Speaking as an LSU fan, it's painful to watch bad quarterback play.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so that was the thing that really stuck out. I thought, and you picked Missouri to upset A&M. I thought they would play them tougher,
Yeah.
and you just it was a tough game for Missouri, and that position is going to get better, the quarterback position. But right now, that's a huge weakness for them, and I think it's
Yeah.
going to cost them some ball games before the end of the season.
Yeah. And I mean, and unfortunately, I think the reality of it is you can say without any hesitation, a freshman third string quarterback played like a freshman third string quarterback. Uh, and you hoped, like you said, that his game would step up. That's a big ask, but you would hope that would be the case, and it just was not. He played exactly kind of where he is.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a big hill. Eli
Yeah,
Drinkwitz, I'm sure, is going to figure it out, but it's going to be rough sledding for a while.
yeah, it's going to be a tough end of the season.
So let's go over to our power rankings. No change in our rankings from last week. We have the same five in the same order. So again, I'm not sure there's a lot we can add to this conversation. Some huge matchups this week.
Yeah,
Alabama's got Oklahoma coming to Tuscaloosa. Georgia and Texas square off in Athens. Those are going to be some huge games that have the potential to really change the power rankings,
yeah.
especially if Vanderbilt keeps coming on strong and keeps winning. You There's a chance they're gonna get back in this top five.
I think there's a lot. The interesting thing is we have a scenario where if you kind of look at how all the schedules shake out, there is a scenario that exists where nothing changes over the next. People still win, even if one team wins and hands another team a second loss. Still not going to be a whole lot of movement. Might be some flip flopping, but we have a scenario, or there's a possibility of a scenario where nothing changes. At the same time, if you look at all the schedules, it could be quite the ride over the next 3 weeks with people being eliminated or people pulling off upsets and eliminating someone else. There's a lot of possibilities out there over the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Well said. That's why we keep playing the games.
That's exactly right.
Let's move from our power rankings on to our four down territory, starting with a look back at this past weekend, where we begin with the infamous brown bag pick. Darren, who receives your brown bag for this past weekend?
I I don't ever want to be a guy that kicks somebody while they're down. It really makes me uncomfortable. However, there are times when something is so obvious that I'm hoping I do this brown bag gently enough that it's just a slight kind of thump instead of a kick. But I think it has to be pointed out. My brown bag this week is Hugh Freeze. Because, man, the offensive struggles that have existed the entire time he was at Auburn, and they were just awful so far this year. I mean, could not, even with the assist of the DJ Durkin defense, like we've talked about, they could not figure it out. Couple of exceptions, but they still barely won games. It wasn't that all of a sudden the offense took off running. They could not figure it out within conference. And then the first game that there's no Hugh Freeze involved in the game plan, no Hugh Freeze calling plays, no Hugh Freeze deciding who the starting quarterback is, and this inept, awful, so bad it cost Hugh Freeze his job offense rolls off 563 yards, 210 of which was rushing, averaged almost 7 yards a play, had 34 first downs, and put 38 points on the board. Like I said, I don't ever want to be the guy that kicks a man while he's down. But man, that's a brown bag moment because this, been awful. And the first time he's not on the sidelines, they roll out those kind of numbers. Pretty incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah.
Tough to think about what changed there.
Yep.
Hmm, yeah.
Absolutely. How about you? Who's your brown bag?
I, I'm I'm going to Tuscaloosa at the LSU Alabama game. I picked Alabama to win that game. However, I thought LSU's offense, we might see some marked improvement.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Tigers, they kept the game close. The defense played pretty well
Yep.
overall,
Yep.
uh, but the offense there's not just one thing you can put your finger on. They made a change of offensive coordinator. Joe Sloan's no longer there. Alex Atkins was calling the plays, the tight ends coach. He was also the OC at Florida State, and nothing seemed to be clicking. You see a
Mm-hmm.
few bright spots, that completed pass here, and you think, "Oh my goodness!" Or if Trades Green, for example, on that third when Michael Van Buren hit him wide open, and
Yeah.
he just dropped the ball, and those things happen. They just rip your guts out as a fan, but they happen. Human error happens. I think there's a concern about the philosophy offensively. I was listening to the game on the LSU broadcast because I just the national announcers just began to nauseate me. I don't understand why Greg McElroy is calling an Alabama LSU game. Uh,
Hey,
I'm not questioning his integrity, but you have to be a really great person, full of integrity, to call a game for your alma mater against one of their most heated rivals.
exactly.
So, and I'm not saying he did a bad job. We turned to the radio broadcast. We watched it on TV, muted it, listened to the radio broadcast, and on the LSU broadcast, they kept saying, "Why do we keep throwing these screen passes out?" You talk about risk and reward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all predicated on okay, this guy's going to make some plays, and against a very quick defense that wasn't working. It wasn't
Right.
working against Alabama. Alabama kept blowing those up, and so you wind up getting in second and long positions.
Yep.
And of course, we talked about the offensive line, the lack of blocking. I don't think you can. That they're easy. They're an easy scapegoat. They've had struggles, absolutely. The running game, I think there's some bright spots we're seeing there with Harlem Berry we're starting to see glimpses of what he can potentially do. but Garrett Nussmeier, here's a guy that you want to root for because he's given everything to LSU. He's
Yeah.
stayed, he's persevered, he loves LSU. He's the quintessential team player, but he's just not playing very well right now.
No.
He's a little skittish in the pocket, doing things you don't expect someone in his position to do. And I don't think you can say this is an injury when you look at the mistakes that are happening.
Right.
So just to watch this LSU offense, you know they can do better. You're hoping that you're going to see it. Maybe we'll see it against Arkansas. I'm sure we're going to see it against Western Kentucky. I have a feeling, but it's a little too late in the season, unfortunately. Uh,
Absolutely.
and so that's just kind of, yeah, it's been tough to watch.
It's
We
tough.
we haven't had somebody make the Diego Pavia plays.
Well, every once in a while what I start to say, every once in a while that kind of player comes along. No, you don't have that this year, but 2 years ago you watched it all the time. Jaden Daniels was Diego Pavia on steroids. You had somebody for 2 years making those kind of plays.
Mm-hmm. So that brings us to the post-game quote of the week. We talked a little bit already about the Missouri A&M game, and you have found a post-game quote from Eli Drinkwitz. So Darren, let's hear it.
Really appreciative of our fans for selling out the game and showing up. Awesome environment to start. I felt like our players laid it on the line. I thought they fought and fought, kept giving ourselves chances, but ultimately, poor coaching by me. At the end of the day, poor coaching by me to put us in a position to give up the fumble before half. Ultimately that should be a 7-0 game, and then to cut it to 14 and have a chance right there and give up a fake punt again on me. I got to be better there, and so players fought and gave us every chance in the world, and just poorly done by me tonight.
The thing that really stood out to me, or about that to me, was even if you hear the things he points out, you got a player not protecting the ball, fumbling the ball. You got a special teams unit that gives up a big play. He could have phrased those things different ways, or even went to the stream that we've seen some coaches do and blatantly throw players under the bus. And he did none of that. Even in the phrasing of talking about a lost fumble, a big play being given up, all of those different things, he thanked the fans. He talked about how hard the players fought and said, I'm the missing link, basically. I got to do better. To me, that's tells you a lot about him as coach and as a person. It's a very, very impressive reaction to that gut wrenching of a loss.
Yeah, it's a great display of leadership. A great
Absolutely.
post-game quote. Thanks for sharing that, Darren. So let's get into some picks for this upcoming week, starting with our sure thing pick. You can take this one to the bank. You can bet the farm on this one. Darren says so. So you can't miss with the analytical skills of Darren Shavers guiding you, steering your ship. Be bold and pick and believe in this sure thing pick. Who is yours, Darren?
Yeah. Number one, not a word of truth in anything that was just said. But number two,
Take some credit, my friend.
number two, I'm going to go with A&M. We just talked about what they did to Missouri, and yes, Missouri has their quarterback woes, but Missouri has been a good team with a good defense that can run the football, and A&M mitigated all of that on both sides of the ball. And this week against the South Carolina team, oof, this is going to be rough for South Carolina fans, especially with it being in Calfield. It makes it even worse. Oh, so unfortunate, because this fan base is going to be rocking, waiting to see a 10-0 start. It's going to be ugly. This is going to be a big time A&M win. Definitely a sure thing. How about you, Ben?
Yeah, the excitement in College Station is off the charts right now, and we're going to see that, as you mentioned, on display, unfortunately for South Carolina.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking at the Georgia-Texas game in Athens, and I'm going to go with the Georgia Bulldogs. we both picked Georgia to beat Mississippi State last week.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it might be a little closer. It
Yeah.
looked like Georgia is hitting its stride,
Yeah.
which is a very scary proposition. But this is Kirby Smart working like he normally does. This is what makes him such a great coach.
Absolutely.
Uh, Sark's going to come in, try to throw some things at that Georgia defense to catch them off guard, kind of like what he did when Vanderbilt came to Austin. I don't know if it's going to work against that Georgia defense. I've got Georgia handling this game and continuing to head toward the SEC championship game.
It's gonna be a fun game to watch.
Which, yeah, and right now A&M's in the driver's seat, Alabama, but if Alabama falters again, Georgia slides in there, and so we'll see. How about your upset pick for the week?
Well, it's funny you mention Alabama. I am going to head to, as crazy as this sounds, Tuscaloosa and believe in this Oklahoma Sooner team. And it has everything to do with defense. They are still, even with the lumps they've taken, they are still the number 2 defense in the conference. They are still allowing just over 250 yards a game, 260 yards a game. They're still in a league that can get some offense. They're one of only 2 teams that are only allowing less than 300 yards a game. Ty Simpson did not have the best game. I think you can say that against LSU, so you can see a little bit of what a defense can do to him. I know it's a 6.5 point spread. I know it's in Tuscaloosa, but if you're Oklahoma and you're fighting for your life, you've already got 2 losses. You are. This is a game that takes you from the possibility of double-digit wins to single-digit wins, and the way this league is this year goes from the potential of a playoff if you win to, I mean, even with 9 wins, you could be at the Birmingham Bowl. You could end up at the Liberty Bowl the way this league is playing on the top end this year. So that's a lot to fight for. This is an incredible defense. Offense scares me, but I'm going to buy into the defense, making it a low-scoring game, and Oklahoma pulls off the upset.
Bold pick, my friend. The folks in Norman are cheering right now.
The other week I left you hanging. This time we can do it together. Boomer.
Sooner.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. All right, who's your upset pick?
That would be something.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with Mississippi State as my upset pick. I think they've been knocking on the door. They didn't do so well against Georgia, but this week I think we're going to see them pull off the upset. We've already talked in this episode about the difficult quarterback situation that Missouri's facing right now. I don't think that's going to get corrected this week. Jeff Levy's leading the Bulldogs in there with an experienced quarterback, and so I think the Bulldogs pull off the upset. That takes us to our game of the week. This week we have 2 games of the week because these games both had the potential to be playoff elimination games for some of the teams involved. So let's dig right into it. Our first one, we are spending way too much time in Tuscaloosa, Darren.
We really are. I'm starting to get a little sick of it. I've had enough of Tuscaloosa this season.
They have a really good Jason's Deli in Tuscaloosa. Do you like Jason's Deli?
Oh, absolutely. How do you not like Jason's Deli? Yeah.
They have a really good one in Tuscaloosa. So not everything bad's there.
Jason's Deli might be, my opinion, upper echelon of the salad bar world that exists today. I think they're a top tier.
Oh yeah, they set the bar pretty high.
Absolutely. Set the salad bar pretty, but low enough you can still reach it. All right, I'll stop. Go ahead. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
The 12th ranked Oklahoma Sooners at 7-2 are coming to town. It's a 2:30 p.m. game on ABC to face the 4th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide at 8-1. When you look at these teams overall, some things stick out. The Alabama offense, which sputtered against LSU last week, and then both defenses are playing pretty stout. I think Oklahoma's given up, you can see it on the screen, a little over 14 points a game. Alabama, a little over 18. Turnover margin, we have a difference. And
Yeah,
so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in this game. But Oklahoma loses. Effectively, this ends their playoff
they're done.
chances.
Yeah, and I think again, football is football, and sometimes you say things and you almost feel like, well, duh. But I mean, you look at that turnover margin line, and you really do see the game is hanging out right there, because it does not matter how good this Oklahoma defense is if the offense doesn't take care of the ball and gives Alabama short fields. It's going to be a long day for Oklahoma. That could get ugly quick. They have to take care of the ball to even have a chance.
And this Oklahoma defense raises another issue that we saw with Alabama last week, and that is the difficulty in establishing a running game. If Oklahoma can neutralize Alabama's running game, we may see a lower scoring game, which Oklahoma can put some points on the board
Exactly.
pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think that's what Oklahoma has to have happen. They have to take care of the ball offensively on defense, try to stop the running game, force Ty Simpson to. I mean, he can play at the level he needs to win this game. We've seen it, but he wasn't there last week. If the game is on his back, does he respond to that? Does he sputter a little bit? That's how Oklahoma has a shot in this game. If they turn the ball over and leave the defense on the field too long for too many snaps and allow the opportunity for Alabama to start blowing those holes open, getting those running backs going, popping off 6, 8, 10 yards runs, that's gonna be tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that takes us to our second game of the week, 6:30 p.m. on ABC. The 11th ranked Texas Longhorns are coming into Athens to face the 5th ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Texas at 7-2, Georgia at 8-1. Again, this is a playoff elimination game for Texas. If they lose, they're effectively removed from playoff contention.
Yep.
Again, is that going to be enough to propel them to a victory? When you look at the offenses, points per game are pretty even. Defenses, points allowed per game are pretty even. Turnover margin, we have a big difference there. Arch Manning's been up and down this year. Gunnar Stockton has had some struggles as well for Georgia. Darren, you look at this game and everything that is going to go in this. You got Kirby Smart, defensive genius, against Steve Sarkisian, offensive guru. What do you think?
And I think you just lined up the game perfectly. What you're looking at between Sarkisian and Kirby, again, the turnover margin that's a big kind of standout thing. But I think if you're going to be realistic about some of these turnovers, there were some of the early games that Texas, their defense forced some turnover, that kind of piled up. Now, what that says is they still take care of the ball. Yeah, to be at +8 because they got some turnovers in early games, and they're still this far in, and they're still at that +8. Offense takes care of the ball. I think this is truly I think this is going to have to do with run game. And if I'm a Texas fan, that scares me, because I think whoever establishes the yards before contact run game, not 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but the yards before contact, where the offensive line is really getting that D line off of the ball, and your running back is getting 2 and 3 yards before anybody starts to touch him. Whichever side gets that kind of momentum going is who wins this game. And again, if I'm a Texas fan, that scares me, because this is when is it not a good defensive line for Georgia? I mean, let's be honest. Duh. Oh, okay. Yeah, but still, this is a good defensive line. And, when it's big games like this, Kirby Smart comes with the thunder. I know he's not the D coordinator, but still, he's sitting in the room, and Kirby Smart comes with the thunder when it's a game like this. So to me, it's pretty scary if I'm a Texas fan.
Yeah, I think that's some great spot on analysis. Going back to the old saying that is so true is this game is won in the
Absolutely.
trenches. So great
Absolutely.
point there, Darren. These are going to be some fun games to watch. Hey,
Very much so.
before you leave us today, would you hit that subscribe button? That means a lot to us. It helps us promote the show, get it out there, keep it free, so we can keep talking about SEC football. We appreciate you tuning in with us. New episodes come out every Tuesday, our main episode. But during certain times of the year, like college football season, we
Mhm.
have episodes where we make picks every week, and we throw in some bonus content as well. If you subscribe, you won't miss anything. You'll always be notified. We
Absolutely.
appreciate you watching and listening so much. Enjoy the games this weekend. And until next week, y'all take care.
Have a great week.